podcast. I'll let you guys, Carson, take it away and go from there.
Yeah, thanks, Michael, for having us here. We're the Juice Consumer Direct Podcast. We've been running this past year, and we wanted to give an opportunity to do this podcast here. Michael invited us to do one live here from the show, so we're excited to be here with you today, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm Carson Poppenger, founder, CEO of Squeeze, GoSqueeze.com, and we started our business 16 years ago. We've been in business since 2009, and we support a lot of lead buyers in the industry who are spending a considerable amount on leads. We help them contact and convert and monetize the leads in a more efficient way and help generate more revenue from their lead spends. And that's what we do and focus on. And so we started this podcast so we can talk about industry issues and things that go on in the space, problems we encounter, things like that. I wanted to take the time to introduce Jacob, and he's going to tell you a little bit about his role at our company as well.
Yeah, Jacob Thorpe. I've been with Squeeze for about 10 years. I'm over client services and partnerships, so my job is to help create cadences and strategies that help our clients contact and convert their customers more efficiently.
Yeah, I'm Nate Clegg. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer here at Squeeze. Been here for a little while too. Been in the industry for a long time. Got to kind of have a baby face, but I've been doing it for almost 18 years, which in our industry is a long time, right? And when we decided to make this podcast, the goal was genuinely, hey, let's make something that's not a commercial. That's what we've done. We bring in industry experts, we bring in the right sort of people, we talk about things that are actually valuable, they're worth your time, they're worth the listen. And so our audience so far has liked it, and we've done a good job with it. So that's what we've done today as well. We've got 3 guests. Carson's going to introduce one right now who are genuinely industry experts with valuable things to say and answer.
The goal today is to walk you through really the sales funnel with 3 leading minds in the industry, and we're excited to get them up here to share some of their thoughts on the future of lead generation and what we all can do to continue growing in 2025.
Yeah, rather than doing one panel with all 6 of us up here kind of talking all at the same time and things like that, we thought 3 20-minute segments. We're going to take you through 3 20-minute segments, introducing each person, and we're going to have discussion around each part, starting with the top of the funnel in the lead generation, lead buys, and scaling lead buys. So we want to introduce Justin Henderson, who is the CEO of No Limit Direct, and I'm going to give you a little background on Justin. So come on up, Justin, join us. We've worked with Justin now for like 5 years, and Justin was the CMO for AmeriCorps and was there through some of their biggest growth years from 2021 to 2023, scaled the business considerably during that time. He also led marketing for Inogen, which is a large medical device company. You've probably seen a lot of their advertising. He was there through a lot of their growth and helped lead their marketing leadership with portable oxygen device and space that they operate in. It was integral in pioneering a lot of their direct-to-consumer business that they do for medical devices. Prior to that, Justin spent 10 years in the media agency space, where he led teams marketing for brands such as Dow Jones, Wall Street Journal, and Hearst Corp, National Debt Relief, American Standard, and many others. Today, Justin's building his own mortgage brokerage called ZipLend out of Laguna Beach, and is a and he's the partner and chief operating officer there at that business. And he's also the founder of an ad agency called No Limit Direct, and which we've worked with Squeeze, and specializes in lead generation for finance, mortgage, and home services industries. So really broad base of experience. So welcome, Justin. Thanks for being with us.
Oh, we got to turn his mic on, guys.
Mic problem.
Thank you, Carson.
We did it, sort of.
Okay.
We're just going to share right here.
Yeah, it's okay.
Get back up here, Justin. Let's go. Let's make this happen.
Hey, appreciate it, Carson.
We're just rolling with the live issues here.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, so Carson and Squeeze and I have actually worked pretty deeply together for the last 5 years. Just some great things. They were a big catalyst in a massive growth surge at AmeriCorps. I think we went from something like 35 million when I started up to 180 in 12 months, and then up to 370 or so in about 24 months. So Squeeze was a big part in that. I also brought him into my media agency space because contact is a major issue, and they're pretty damn good at it. So thank you. I appreciate being up here. I'm honored to be a guest, and thank you all for showing up.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Let's jump in.
All right, so what do we want to talk about?
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit. Obviously, 2025 is here, and lead strategies are changing, and we're wanting to adapt and know, hear what you're doing. How are you approaching 2025 as compared to how you've approached years prior? What's changed with the way that you're viewing top of funnel?
Well, obviously there's the elephant in the room with the one-to-one consent TCPA, and there's the proliferation of AI and how you deploy that and how you use that across the board or wherever you can, and that's probably the biggest shift that I've seen. And obviously a lot of, or maybe not obviously, but a lot of the core channels that were mainstays in direct response, like paid search, have become so impacted on a unit economics basis that people are going much deeper into programmatic, the content discovery space, junky, lead ad, garbage, dirt merchant traffic, and basically just going outside of the core curriculum to drive efficiency, because the unit economics have become so impacted on the core channels that are highly penetrated, like paid search, direct mail. I think the one-to-one consent push is going to force folks to be marketers again. I think the most heavily affected people are going to be those that live and die on lead ads that just can't achieve opt-ins on their brand. I mean, just think about it. If you have a big checkbox on a lending tree, for instance, and you're a brand like ZipLend, but you're competing with Loan Depot and AmeriSave and Countrywide, it's going to be that much more difficult to achieve clicks. Therefore, you're going to pay for that in pricing, right? Because the click-through rate's how you affect yield management on the listing side.
I have a question for you about this.
Yeah.
It's a very good point. You're going to have to get creative, especially if you're not a big buyer.
Just got to be a marketer again.
Yeah, I gotta be a marketer.
You know, it's like, oh snap! I have to actually make my own ads.
Yeah.
I have to test creative. I have
Right.
to constantly improve, and I have to, it's a different approach too when you're doing on a lead gen to sale versus an internal operator at a business, right? Because there's a lot of interconnected elements. They're like a living organism, whereas a lead generation company is it's more just like a tripod. It's like you're buying, you're selling, and then your operational connection. And as long as they're adhesed and you keep the balance right, you can do it well. But being an internal operator is a lot more difficult.
So there's a lot of scammers, let's be honest, in our industry. How have you refined your personal, I'd say maybe your BS meter, right? Like how do you identify the fraudulent lead providers or traffic sources? Because there's a lot of them out there. What have you done to kind of...
You get a TCPA demand letter in the first week.
Yeah, and I was asking for a friend.
Well, Justin,
That's a good question, actually.
what kind of, specifically, what kind of scammy stuff have you seen happen? Because we were talking about this earlier, and you mentioned a few things. Let's go over, a few of the scammy type lead submissions you get.
I mean, there's a lot. I spent the early part of my career in ad tech, and I did a good portion of my work was just doing like digital forensics on clicks and leads. Look, it runs the gamut. You'll buy leads in the personal loan space, and you'll see the same social security number 5 times with 5 different names, phone numbers, and addresses.
That's probably not a good lead.
Yeah, you'll see the same IP submit 400 leads in 1 millisecond. There's a million ways. You'll get actual people in click farms submitting leads, real humans that will just do it 20, 30 times a day, on some high ticket or high variable cost lead transactions. So I've seen a good portion of it. But you know what? You do have the benefit. If you come to these shows, you can kind of smell the people that are full of it. And that tends to be the first sieve.
That's
like,
kind
I
of
don't believe this guy.
That's kind of a gut measure. Like some of the ones I've seen is...
I don't want to be sexist. Don't believe the gals either. But don't believe anyone.
Oh, right.
Equal.
I hate everyone equally.
Well, if they send you an
trust
email,
everyone.
if they send you an email and it's from a Gmail account, usually not a good sign. We don't want to talk too much about where we are geographically today, but sometimes geographics play into that, where they're
I think there's like no knock on offshore businesses. They're very, very valuable if leveraged correctly and in the right place. I think it's at this stage of the industry, given what's happening with TCPA, I tend to veer away from any kind of lead origination that's centralized outside the U.S., generally speaking. But I flex that a little bit for my near neighbors in Mexico and Canada. But when we go across the pond, I start getting a little
Well, it's relationship based. Relationships matter a lot.
When it comes to labor and BPOs and all this stuff, I've used a lot of offshore stuff very successfully and made the unit economics. Or the unit economics resulted in a much more favorable outcome for me. So it's just about finding that right mix.
So one thing you mentioned, all of the bad actors or what we view to be bad actors. What are the things and the tools that you put in place now on the front end to ensure that you're protected by those, to make sure that the leads that you're getting are compliant and that they will put you in a position to succeed?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's the blatantly obvious ones, right? Like demand, trusted form, and Jernaya can be a little limiting. So it's you have to assess each situation individually. I'm not opposed to the one-to-one consent, vehemently, but I do see how it's a very broad stroke maneuver that is not necessarily doing good in every instance. So, I don't envision this thing to be a full, paper cut that just switches from one day to the next. I think it's going to be an evolution. I think if you don't know somebody and you don't have a relationship with them or an proven track record, I think you do need to go for validation that the lead is happening on the IP they say, consent's given, if you're pulling credit, the proper TCRA disclaimers are in place, the TCPA disclaimer has a one-to-one or a dynamic consent that resolves before the lead's deployed to you, and it's going to take people some time, but I think that's where you start. Even if the one-to-one consent is not there, if Jernaya and trusted form is there, you have another echelon of cover, even though it's not completely legally defensible.
Yeah, I think independent of what happens with the ruling, the thought and the cognition that people have been having about the lead generation process is going to be a good thing. It's requiring us to be a lot more conscious and conscientious of the leads that we are generating, that we're dialing, that we're messaging, and I think that in practice, it forces us to be a little bit better. It forces us to be more strategic, to be marketers, and in the long run, independent of what happens, I think that feeling, that principle, will be a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, the whole premise of this, right, is that the consumer space feels relief from a bombardment of unwanted and unsolicited calls, in particular with age records, right? Like, we're that big insurance debacle with a $5.5 billion judgment that came from a whole passel, millions of age records getting RVMs hammered every day. I think as that ebbs, it's going to become more and more important for people to go back to what true database marketing and working their own, squeezing the juice out of their own, bucket of leads. It's going to be more lucrative. Because if you just think about it, if someone stops getting 1,000 calls a month, but they're your record and you have consent and you call them religiously and you send the right messaging, you figure out how these people are and how to one-to-one message them. I think that's going to be, you just have to squeeze more juice out of the lemon. And that's what marketing is really all about, right? When you scale a lead buy, you're going to see efficiency erode in every channel. So what you do is you go outside your core channel mix. You go within each channel and you go outside your core, for instance, paid search, you have a core set of head terms. They're very lucrative, but you hit some point of an efficient frontier where bidding higher to get more clicks results in every click costing more, and it erodes your unit economics and it doesn't make sense anymore. So you start adding other keywords. They convert at different rates, they have different contact rates. So it's just going to force you to be more in tune with analytics and more involved in media mix optimization, looking at covariance analysis, going back into things going harder into things like connected TV, maybe going back into DRTV, looking at the halo overlay on paid search, on your direct mail, figuring out the Texas two-step a little bit.
Yeah, and I think anybody who's an industry expert who's paid their dues, doing things the right way, want to embrace what you're talking about, Justin. Because if there's a barrier of entry, that means your expertise and your skill set will allow you to thrive. Our industry for years and years, whether we want to admit it or not, has been rife with pretenders.
Yep.
Those pretenders muddy the water, they make it difficult, they make it so that we have some of these conversations that we're having. Well, if you have to be good, well, good. Now we can get rid of the pretenders. We can focus on the people who are professionals. Take this industry seriously. We've been around long enough. We're going to focus on what really matters.
Yeah, I think the end result, I agree. I think it's going to take some time, but it's going to be better for the consumer, and it's going to be better for the legit advertiser who's good at what they do and has just a core value of continuous improvement. Because I mean, that's how you continue to excel. You look at the best ones, you copy it, and then you make it better. You get innovative.
I think building trust with the consumers is one thing that we've talked a lot about, just creating a better customer experience. And that's really, I think, what the intent of the one-to-one consent really at the heart of it is just making it a better customer experience, like you said, and get creative. I think multi-channel seems to be making a resurgence, right? Like you said, direct mail. I've seen a real big lift in direct mail campaigns and things like that recently in the market, and I think that's going to continue too.
Yeah, I think email is going to get a resurgence too. I mean, all the one-to-one channels. I mean, I think people are going to do one-to-one marketing on social a lot better after this. So it's just
less noise creates more pull-through, right?
Yeah. And as long as you focus on conversion as part of that whole pathway, and you continue to improve on both sides on your bidding strategies, your audience targeting, and work your CPLs down, focus on quality, and then also start leveraging things like AI for like dynamic creative optimization, which will improve your conversion rate and elevate your buying power on the buy side. And they just have a reverb effect when you go with the client.
What kind of plays do you have on AI right now?
We're doing a lot on the two-way messaging, AI-driven two-way messaging, voice bots, trying to leverage it for a few other things not really ready to talk about yet, but I'm really big on using it for creative optimization. But I'm not ready to roll out anything too frightening just yet.
Yeah, we're looking for ways to use it to just create better efficiency. We have a few things that we worked on at Squeeze. We've got like an inbound AI voice agent appointment setting platform that we've built out, and we're rolling that out now with a few clients. It's really interesting because we can take those after hours inbound calls and have the AI agent convert that into an appointment, which we then can contact again the next day or next time we're in the office. It just creates more contact, more lift. The other piece is Peel Voice, which we've talked about on our podcast. Peel Voice is a call analytics platform to review the agents and the sales process, not only from the initial outbound, but all the way through the sales close one to analyze different aspects of the call. And
are you guys using AI for workforce management?
We haven't yet. It's interesting.
Yeah, because one of the biggest challenges of scaling like a really large-scale, short-term burst of media when you're an internal operator of the business is to determine like the most efficient levels of staffing at the right times, and not even deeper than that. Which reps do you want to be there when and for what leads? And coming up with that, like the ideal deployment destination for every single lead based on its like dynamic profile done by AI. Super intriguing. People have been trying to do it for a long time. Always a complete S show. And it usually makes all your reps quit. And it's a recruiting problem.
I remember talking to a buddy about this kind of concept that you're bringing up, Justin, of doing analytics, doing AI to determine what lead to call, when to call, what person to put it in front of. We basically just said...
Sounds good in theory.
Yeah, in theory doesn't. We talked about it. We were like, we wish there was just this button and there was a dollar sign on the button. You just click that when you're ready to
In
make
order
money.
for that to even conceptually work for me, you have to have massive scale. You cannot try to do that with like 50 reps. Like that to me is like 1,000 rep, 100,000 leads a month, to 1 million leads a month for 1,500 reps, that kind of thing. And I think there's incremental gains that can be so monetarily huge that it'd be hard to ignore, but it's going to take a lot of time and testing. There's a lot of resistance to it because most people like me have been doing this 20 plus years. I've been burned trying to do it so many times. So it always sounded good to me.
It does sound good. Whoever does it's going to make a lot of money. It's going to be awesome.
Well, Justin, just in summary, what's your big takeaway for 2025? And then we're going to have you come back up for Q&A when we wrap up. So tell us what your big takeaway for this year is.
Go big or go home. No, I'm just kidding. Well, that too. But I'd probably just, like I said, focus on the basics of like being a marketer. Like do it academically. Start with your TAM, look at your market penetration, look at your goals, figure out what kind of percent of the market share you need, and work into it from there. Do it intelligently. Do the stuff you don't feel like is necessary, and really embrace being your own marketer. Be a one-to-one marketer and still exploit the lead ads as much as you can and all the other stuff. And look for the opportunities when the vacuum of big buyers bounces when the one-to-one consent happens. Be an opportunist.
Right on.
Very cool.
We'll have you
Thank
back
you,
up
Justin.
here at the end.
Always a pleasure, you guys.
All right, thanks,
Appreciate you.
Justin. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.